Hello again everyone, it's me, Madame Macabre, and welcome to another video. First of all, I must apologize if you can hear the fan or children outside because I've got the windows open. It is 86 degrees inside my apartment and I feel like I'm dying, so I gotta keep some airflow going. So sorry if that picks up a little bit. No way around it right now, it's August. Anyway, from what you've already seen in the title above, today we are going to be covering a very interesting topic. That would be tarot, and more specifically, how tarot makes an excellent tool in psychotherapy, and how there's a lot of actual psychology that goes into it. And as a fun little side thing, if you have parents that are like super protective and like you're really interested in learning tarot, you've wanted to, but your parents are like, no, that's a cult, you're gonna try and summon demons, other ridiculous stuff, this might help you get them to chill out a little bit by knowing all the psychological benefits, all the therapeutic aspects to it. Be like, hey, psychology, that is a legitimate science. See? Calm down. It's fine. I just want to learn a new skill. Please. So anyway, we are going to dive right into some of the amazing therapeutic benefits that come from tarot. So, when we look at tarot, if we remove it from all the mystical, magical elements, and we look at it strictly as a psychological tool or a therapy tool, there are a lot of things that make it fantastic for helping people. The first thing that makes tarot a phenomenal psychotherapy tool is the fact that when using tarot, it really helps people to look at their issues and their problems from an entirely new perspective. Generally, when we're living in our lives, we've got our day-to-day problems, we've got our issues, we have like tunnel vision focusing in what we view to be the situation, what we view to be the problem, and it is hard to break away from that. It's nothing against you or your own issues, it's just human nature and how it works. We perceive how things are, and it is hard to break that perception. Get out of our very own perspective, But the thing that's so cool about tarot is that it offers us a view from an entirely different perspective. When you sit down, you see the cards you get, it can pull up different things that make you consider different angles, different possibilities that just had never occurred to you before, and that is something that's really cool and really helpful. For example, let's say you've been having anger issues and you've been lashing out a lot lately, and you in your head either don't know where it's coming from or you think for sure it's coming from one place. You may get a spread in front of you that touches on certain points and brings things up that you hadn't even considered, and while you were thinking point A over here was why you had anger issues, suddenly the card's like, this could have happened in your past, and you're like, oh my god, that did happen in my past, and I think that's where this is coming from, more so than this, and it helps you get a breakthrough. So it's really, really useful in that way. The next thing that makes tarot so great for psychotherapy is that if you look at the artwork on the cards, I'll bring up my little deck here. I've got my little edgy vampires. Yeah, of course I would. Nice and spooky. Well, there's actually a lot of stuff that goes on in this artwork if you really pay attention. Tons of metaphors, and this is just like one themed deck. Decks come in all sorts of themes, but regardless of how different the artwork is across these various decks, all the same cards have very similar symbolism scattered through them, and there's a lot of meaning, deep meaning to these pictures. And anyone who's worked in psychology, or at least has an understanding of psychology, knows that symbolism and metaphor is a great tool for psychotherapy because it is a safer way to sort of process a personal issue you're dealing with, to visualize it, to see it in a safer way, and to make sense of it in the world around you. And if you are the type of person that finds metaphors to be very helpful in your own journey of healing, I think tarot could potentially be very helpful for you, as once again, all these cards are full of these really complex, beautiful pictures just full of symbolism. Even the meaning behind the pictures of the card, each meaning of the card will be stacked richly with metaphors, and it's something that if that's a tool you need or it helps you greatly, you will definitely benefit from something like this. Now, aside from perspective and metaphor, another thing that's really great about tarot is that it is actually a pretty empowering process for the person getting the reading. Now, regular and more traditional tarot reads, it won't quite be exactly the same. I still personally find it to be a very empowering process, but when you're doing it specifically with therapy in mind, it is really, really involved with the person getting the reading. Generally, the most common things you'll see with it being used in a therapeutic sense is that, and I personally will do this with all my reads anyway, is I don't like to just draw from the top. I like to randomly mix the cards, spread them out, and essentially I will let the person I'm reading for just sort of reach out and pick the cards that sort of call to them. I don't know, it's weird, but it's one of those things where you kind of, you feel the one that wants to come and be a part of the spread, and that's how we do the cards. So that's one way that can be also used in therapy. And another way that is very helpful in therapy is to actually have the cards face up. And this works better for people who are unfamiliar with tarot, because if you're familiar with tarot, you're gonna know what the cards mean and you're gonna have a little bias in what you're choosing. Which, I mean, maybe in itself that might also work for your therapy because you're communicating. But for people who don't know anything about tarot, essentially the therapist or the reader will tell them, look at the artwork on these cards and choose the ones that really call to you, that you feel a connection to. Just pick based on the artwork alone. And that gives the person being given the reading a lot of power and control in their situation. In this way, they get to actively participate in this wonderful therapy tool. So another thing that is really fantastic about tarot in psychotherapy is that the cards themselves and the meanings are very neutral. There's no good, no bad, they're all very neutral. Some tell you things that aren't as nice and some that are better, but none of the cards are inherently bad. Nothing's judging you, nothing's shaming you. It's all neutral, and all the card meanings are very general, relatable human experiences. And in this, it is a very non-threatening way to go about your therapy. And it also allows for you to get more specific in the card meaning. Yes, it's a very general topic, a general human experience, but you're going through something. Clearly, when you go through that card meaning, you're gonna read your own details into it, and that's something that allows you to let that all out, but once again, in that very general, neutral, non-judgmental way, and that makes it super helpful. And the final thing about tarot in psychotherapy, which I personally think is probably the most important thing about it, and even when you're not actually straight up doing a psychotherapy session, a lot of people when they reach out for tarot readings, they have something on their mind and they are trying to find a way through it. They want advice, they want help, they want to figure it out. And the really cool thing about tarot is that for whatever reason, it somehow allows people to talk about things they otherwise would never open up about. I don't know what it is, and I'm sure the people who are more into the spiritual aspect of tarot will tell you that that's the spirituality, that's the magic, that's all that behind it. But for whatever reason, people will be way more comfortable talking about things in a tarot setting than if you were to just sit down and be like, hey, do you want to talk about it? I've had personal readings where people have told me things they've never told anybody, and they've straight up told me that they never thought they would ever talk about this because it's so deeply personal. Yet somehow, when the cards came up, perfectly relevant, everything just, it feels very magical, because a lot of the time the cards that come up, I'm letting you choose your own cards. I have no control over this. And when the perfect cards, exactly what they needed, come up, they just find themselves being willing to talk. So it's super helpful when you're going through therapy if you've got somebody who has a lot of hurt, but they're not willing to talk about it. They just can't bring themselves to do it. Perhaps see if they're open to doing a tarot read, because it's amazing. The card comes up, and even though you don't want to talk about it, the reader's like, this could mean this and this and this, you could be doing this and this, and then suddenly they're just like, oh my gosh, blah, it all just comes flowing on out. It's really amazing. Ultimately, I think there is a lot of really cool stuff that goes into tarot. I personally enjoy it a lot because I see it as a way of being able to emotionally help people. Every reading that I have done for other people has sort of brought up deeper, more painful things for them, and through the reading, they feel like they have a better idea of what they need to do, a better understanding of themselves. It has been a very empowering experience for them. So I find it to be something that's really good. So it's sad that there are people who will call it bad and evil just because it isn't necessarily normal. I don't know, it's a lot of psychology. The truth is there's so much psychology that goes into tarot reading. The way I personally see tarot is that it is something that allows us to tap into our own subconscious. I think a lot of people, once again, will put way more into the spiritualism and the magic, and that is perfectly fine. However people want to practice tarot, they are free to do so. But from my personal understanding and how I look at it, I see it as more of a psychological thing. I see it as we are tapping in to that deep, repressed part of our psyche that we either have lost contact with over time from unintentionally, unaware, repressing things, or we have even intentionally repressed things down there. But a lot of the time, how many times have you personally been able to give amazing advice to people about a whole variety of situations, even if you've never been in there? But once it comes to yourself and your own situation, suddenly you don't know what to do, like you're not able to follow your own advice, whatever, etc., etc. That is where tarot can come in handy, because you have that knowledge inside of you. You do. It's just for whatever reason you are struggling to reach it. For whatever reason, tarot, all the psychology behind it, allows us to tap into that deep inner self and access that knowledge we already have inside of ourselves. That's the psychology behind it, and I hope beyond hopes that that can at least chill your parents out enough for them to let you enjoy your harmless hobby. Hey, it's psychology. That's a legitimate science. That should cheer them up. Anyway, I'm just going on and on at this point. I feel like I'm getting to that rambling part of the end of a video, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it on up here. I sincerely hope you enjoyed this video. If this isn't really your cup of tea, that's okay too, because I do all sorts of different video topics here on this channel. Anything that's vaguely spooky or strange, your girl gotcha. Anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will catch you all again next time. Until then, stay creepy.